So yes, today we are introducing a team that I'm sure you're all pretty familiar with, or at least somewhat familiar with, and that is 100 Thieves, who of course were the NALCQ winner, and at Masters 1 and 2, of course, they were not present. This will be their first tournament of this year, and their expectation here that I put for them, well, if you have NA Hopium, then maybe you think that they can go and win the whole thing. Reality, though, they are in, a difficult group, I would say. Their first game is against Fnatic, which I think, most people will probably be picking Fnatic for that game. And then, they also have DRX in their group, which, if they do end up, playing against a team like DRX as well, that will be pretty tricky as well. Can they get out of group stage? Yes, absolutely. I think that they have the talent to do so, but it will definitely be tricky, and I don't think that they will actually be favored, considering they're going up against potentially two teams that have a lot more experience than them in these situations. Now, 100 Thieves' style is very much they are a teamwork and smart, and what I mean by that is and we'll see it in some of the clips as well, they play as a team very well. They come up with some very, very good plans, and they play smartly. They don't overpeak in situations. They play basically the percentage a lot of the time. No one overheats, or very rarely overheats on the team, a lot less than some other teams, and that gets them a lot of round wins because they play the percentage play a lot of the time. And then at the bottom, I've just put Sean Garris, mostly for kind of the meme part of it, but also, of course, I do think that his coaching has definitely helped this team, to play in that kind of more smarter way than a lot of other teams do. And, it's definitely paid off, because here they are coming to champs. So let's move on. Oh, there is Sean Garris, and he's giving us the thumbs up, as you can see there. But let's take a look at the individual members, and obviously we have Stella, who is the IGL. We've got Will, who is mostly playing Chamber, a bit of Jet on Breeze as well. Asuna, of course, I'm sure many of you are pretty familiar with. He's playing Neon Rays and some KO, depends on the map, right? Julius / Flex is what Asuna's playing. Bang is their, obviously, controller player, and Derek, the clutch god himself, is, of course, their primary initiator player, with Sean Garris as the head coach there. In terms of the stats, you can see that Asuna is kind of the main, high fragging potential player. You can see that most of the players have a pretty good cast number as well, though, and that kind of, again, feeds into that overall kind of, sense of a good team structure that they have. But you can see that Asuna is clearly the one that is kind of, getting a lot of the kills and getting a lot of those important jewels won for the team. When we come to look at the clips from 100 Thieves as well, in terms of how they play, I'm going to take a look at the map that they played against the God here, Fracture, in the final of the NALCQ. And we'll start here with round 3. And I think one of the big strengths of 100 Thieves is that they have, I think, better plans. They, use what they have and come up with better answers than a lot of other teams do, because this is their bonus, and Asuna is the one with the gun. You can see that the rest of the buy isn't too great, so, they're going to lean on Asuna and going to try and help support him to get this first kill, try and win them the round. So what they've got here is they've obviously got the Chamber and Asuna here on Neon, and they're going to go for this early push here. They're going to set the Chamber up there, and they're going to get Asuna here, right? So this Chamber can obviously take the jewel. Will here, he can take this jewel and get out even if he doesn't get a kill, right? And give them good info and good control early as well. And Asuna can, hopefully just potentially, find a kill jewel on his own down here towards the south side of the map as well. So you'll see that all coming into action, and it works pretty well for them as the guard start with some pressure towards this north side of the map. But there goes Asuna down towards the bottom of the map. Here's the Chamber setup, right, in this kind of very little ratty angle there. And so what's going to happen is eventually the guard are going to turn the corner, and Will is going to be able to find this first kill just there. He finds the first kill, TP's away, and we're in a 5v4. Now, normally in this situation, 100 Thieves are, pretty smart, as I said, and what they'll do often in this kind of scenario is they'll be like, okay, 5v4, let's all play safe, we can even play full retake if we want, right? Because we have a man advantage. Obviously, this time they're on a bonus, so they don't quite have the guns, and so they're still leaning on Asuna here, and he's still, I think, in this situation, this is still the right play overall. You're kind of still the one who's going to ideally win this round, so he gets in this really, really weird angle here, and he is going to manage to get this next kill as well, and then he falls away, right? So he starts to fall away here. Now he's making the correct choice. We're in a 3v5. Now we should win. Pretty much, guns don't matter too much at this point. As long as we can somewhat stick together, we probably will win the round. He tries to get away. Unfortunately, he just misses the wall here. And so I think what he thinks, that this wall is going to carry on there and he'll have a free escape. Problem is, this wall didn't go there, right? So he doesn't have a free escape, and all of a sudden, Sire is right in his face. So, obviously now he can't get away, but he dashes across very quickly there, sends out a stun again, but now this is where the genius of 100 Thieves come in, right? Because now Asana's in a pretty bad spot, right? He's kind of stuck here, and his way of getting out, which is normally the wall, is now, not there for him. So what happens is instantly Derek starts coming from his position here and rotating down, and he's going to send a flash here for Asuna to swing off instead. And this is like just the teamwork that they have really does help them. So you see the flash comes in there and he kills a blind Sire instead, right? Really, really, really good play here from 100 Thieves on this bonus. We end up in a 5v2 and we'll watch out the round. But, and in any 5v2, you should be feeling, pretty confident that you can win. Stellar actually manages to find net there as well. And eventually they will get this last kill also. But yeah, just a really good round. And you see some of the teamwork and the smart decisions that, Asuna was trying to make, but unfortunately his wall just missed there and he wasn't able to make. But then they even make it work after that small mistake with the wall. For another example, let's come to round 9 as well, where they're actually going to do a pretty similar strat where they send the stun out here. They get exactly the same setup that we just saw in the last round as well. The chamber gets pushed up here. This time Will has an op. He does actually get flashed this time, so he has to TP away, not knowing what's there. But you see that Asuna is in this pushed up position again, coming under the underpass there, and is through the other side. And again, we're going to see this same flash come out from Derek so that he can go and peek. And even though Trent, I don't think, was flashed that time, he does manage to get the kill. And this is the wall that he was trying to get before here, that goes all the way across, and now he can leave. And this is what I mean, right? How many times and how many pro games have I seen where, after getting this kill, this Neon would stick around, try and get another one, die, and we'd end up in a 4v4, and, either team could win it. Instead, 100 Thieves, this is like what they're known for, right? They get that first kill, and they just play smart, right? They play smart, they play the numbers game, and, we're in a 5v4 now. If I just retreat, we're in a 5v4, we should win this round. Right, and that's just what they're really, really good at. So eventually what's going to happen here, as you can see, the guard are coming towards this A site. And actually, Bang is, I think, going to get caught a bit off guard. I think perhaps he's in a bit of a committed position, right? He was already deep in on this A site, so maybe he thought that he couldn't really leave because that would mean exposing himself at some point. But eventually the hit comes in, as you see, from the guard, and he's in kind of a lot of trouble. Somehow he manages to survive. A really good KO nade comes in here as well, but unfortunately, as he's putting down the molly, it does hurt them there. But that molly still does actually stop the rest of the guard getting in, other than Valen here. So it does delay them somewhat as well, and we end up in this 4v3. So in this 4v3, what we're going to see again is them playing smart, right? Waiting for Asuna to rotate across the map and be there. Well, eventually what we're going to see is this nice little flash coming in. And Asuna, I think, can just see the shoulder here of Jonah P. Waits for him to re-peek, gets the kill. Now, eventually here, the guy at the bottom, Valen, is going to manage to find Will, but they're right there for the trade from Derek as well. And then Asuna finishes off net. They manage to win the round. And this is kind of, again, classic 100 Thieves, right? Good utility usage, get the first kill, play smart, play safe, win the 5v4. They were very, very good at this all the way throughout the NA/LCQ, and I think that this is their main strength. My worry for 100 Thieves, though, would be rounds like this, round number 13, where particularly potentially on the attacking side, if Asuna dies, first, if he gets a first death without getting a kill and they end up in a disadvantaged situation, I'm not quite sure, particularly at the international level, that they'll have like the firepower maybe to overcome that kind of deficit, particularly if their star fragate dies like he does here to just Sire just hitting some shots, right? Bang dies as well. They eventually do manage to get that trade, but now they end up in a 3v4, and I think it's situations like these where they're going to struggle a bit more. If their plan, first plan, doesn't go swimmingly and they don't get that first kill and they get the first death instead, I do wonder, do they have the players? I know Asuna can do it, but are the rest of them willing to, step up on an international stage where, other than Asuna, none of them have played at this level before, are they ready to step up and show like, oh, actually, I can carry us now in this situation, right? Do they have a, we saw Xiao do it a lot, we've seen Sugetsu do it as well, right? These teams, obviously Jing, Forsaken as well, when you think of the best players and the best teams in the world, right, they have these players where, this is a very winnable situation here. But I just worry for 100 Thieves that in this kind of situation, I'm not quite sure that they necessarily have, the consistent fragging power, perhaps, that some of the other teams that they will be playing against, like a Fnatic, like a DRX, who've kind of proven it somewhat that they could win these situations. I'm not quite sure that that has been proven, and certainly has not been proven on the international level because they haven't had the chance to. So we'll have to see. But you see that, they try and isolate Trent here, but some good utility usage coming out from the guard and a really good stun by net, and eventually we end up with this 3v4 ending in a 0v4. Now let's take a look at their maps, their agent picks, and how they do on ecos as well. And we'll start with their maps, and you can see here there's a lot of light green on this map. It seems like, they don't really have, obviously Pearl we'll have to see, but they don't really have a weak map. This is going back all the way to stage 2 as well, but you can see that Bind, absolute home map. They absolutely destroy on both sides of Bind. That is an absolute home map for them. And if you're playing against 100 Thieves, you probably want to ban Bind because they're very, very good at it. So, probably you do want to ban Bind. Obviously, Pearl, we don't know. But other than that, they don't really have a clear weak map, is what I would say. And that, I think, in an international event is an advantage, right? It means that your map pool is much more open. You can kind of target ban against your opponent as well. I think that's a really, really good thing for them overall. And so that might be one advantage that they have, as well as having, one very, very strong map as well. In terms of the agents, they definitely do have some favorites more than others. You can see that they don't really pick Astra, going for Brim and Omen instead. Obviously, the Brim is kind of what maps they're playing. They do like to play Bind, and they played quite a bit of Fracture as well, so that's why, they've seen quite a bit of Brim. You could see that they aren't in on Chamber as much as other teams, and obviously with the Chamber nerfs, we'll have to see if that, even goes even further than most other teams as well. They do play Cypher, for instance, on Breeze, and I expect them to stick with that as well, and maybe we'll even see, on certain maps them not pick Chamber on others as well. We'll have to see, but you can see the big thing for me on this is they love Sage. Oh my, do they love Sage, right? Because they tried Sage on a lot of maps. They're playing Sage on Bind, which honestly a lot of teams aren't doing anymore. They've played Sage on Haven as well quite a bit, right? And obviously on all the normal Sage maps like Icebox as well, of course. But yeah, playing a lot of Sage, it seems, plus 38% is really quite a lot. And so, FPX are another team who are in on Sage, so, I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing, but quite an interesting thing, I think, as well. You can see that in terms of the duelists, they're playing, quite a bit of Raze, as a lot of teams are these days, right? But nothing like too crazy. Like we saw, I think Liquid were on like 85% Raze, so, they're nowhere near that. And unlike Liquid yesterday, who didn't play KO, they are in on KO. And in terms of the initiators, they're about where pretty much everyone is, playing a little less Breach than everyone, or most teams, but other than that, it's pretty standard across the board. But then when you look at their pistol and eco rounds, and against eco rounds, you can see they are very good at pistol rounds. And I think this, again, is perhaps a bit of a coaching thing where, winning 65% of your pistols is insanely good. And if they keep that up, then they will be a threat for sure. Because if you can win 2 pistol rounds in a map, you should be a pretty good chance of winning that map, right? When they're on eco as well, right, they're doing pretty well, as you would expect from most teams coming to this tournament. But again, this impresses me against ecos and semi-ecos. This, I think, might be the highest number I can remember seeing. And it doesn't surprise me because, again, 100 Thieves play smart. They are checking things like, are they against an eco, right? And they play smart in these situations. How do you lose against an eco? When you go randomly pushing and you give them a gun, and then that gun, gets 2 more kills, and then you lose to an eco. They don't do that kind of stuff, right? They play smart. They play to what their opponent's guns are, so it's no surprise to me to see that they are very good against ecos. And so that was 100 Thieves. I'm sure that they will be one of the teams that, have a big variety in terms of what people expect them to do. I do think that some people will say that this team can go very far and go very deep in a tournament. And others will say, like all the other NA teams, not named Optic, they'll just crash out and burn straight away. We'll have to see. I do think that because of the way they play, because they do play smart, they definitely do have a chance. Unfortunately for them, I do think that they do have a pretty difficult group, though. So we'll have to see how it goes.